was that late Sunday afternoon, at a family park just a few blocks away from the Williams residence. A girl had her eyes fixed in a book called Labyrinth. Uttering those words,
"You have no power over me."
It was about a goblin king who terrorizes his land and putting frights to the community. She hated him. She hated the fact that why does someone has to be above and manipulate others who come small. The protagonist in the story is a girl who has a heart of a warrior, the one who is ready to face any horror imposed by the goblin king. The adventures that the pages of that book was cut short by the rambling thunders above her. As she started to run heading to her house, was just when the rain started to fall. Hurried into their house and there, her stepmother came to her.
"Look at yourself, you are soaking wet. Where did you go?"
As when she was about to reply, she heard her father's voice while going down the stairs.
"Your baby brother needs you tonight. We have a gala to attend. Look at yourself. You're all grown up and you need to learn how to be responsible."
In disgust, she said,
"With me, I was just having my time at the park, reading my book."
"Book?"
Her father coldly replied, now standing in front of her, in a full formal attire. He grabbed the book from her and read the title, mockingly,
"Labyrinth."
Then he looked back at her, with those eyes that tell only disagreement, and said,
"What sort of goodness this book can give? This is just all fantasy."
And when she was about to answer him back, her stepmother stepped in and added,
"You should be dating at your age."
And that was it. The anger in her was too overwhelming and she could not stand the sight of these two grown-ups in front of her. She would like to shout what was in her heart. But instead she just grabbed the book back from her father and ran up to her room, crying.
"She is treating me like I'm her evil stepmother,"
her stepmom said sadly to her father. That night she didn't almost fell asleep. She felt that she was imprisoned with all these standards that life is throwing at her.
Who is the girl with the crying face?
She loves her dolls, her puppets, the flower head dress, that flow of raffles around her white princess ball gown. Why is a teenage girl needs to be dating? Why can't she fall to those mesmerizing stories of bravery and adventures from her books? Seeing her reflection in the vanity in her room, she combed her long black hair. She is beautiful. But is she beautiful just to be popular in her school, to be the homecoming queen with a crown in her head standing beside some random varsity player whose smile is full of proud arrogance? And will she just be standing there, as if she is a reward to him? Nothing but just a piece of a wooden trophy and nothing more. That night, she had her face pinning down to her pillow, drying her tears until she fell into just a few hours of sleep. The following day, it was the same words she heard from her father and stepmother during their breakfast. She wanted to free herself as if she is imprisoned with their words. She would like to have her feet running freely away and to be taken away somewhere, far from wherever she is. To where? She doesn't know. Her heart only tells her that it is somewhere far of an immeasurable distance. And at last, as they finished their breakfast and, finally, she had her way out, with her little book in her bag, she hurriedly stepped out at the door, and let the wind take her far away. Although she knew that she is supposed to be heading to her school, but she would like to go to the old library instead. That old library in that isolated alley that was not prominent to the crowd, and to find a silent corner where she can settle herself in to read her book. as when everything seemed so right, that turn that she took, running. Then, bomb. She collided to a stranger, a young man, whom she didn't see in her rush, and just found herself secure in his arms from falling to the ground. She knew exactly it was her fault. That fall that might have happened should be actually her own doing by not looking at her way. But the instant she found herself safe in his arms, that safety this young man put her in, turned into a living proof of her father's and stepmother's words. She found herself nothing but just a damsel in distress. She hated herself with those trembles in her lips. The reality that she is just a young woman that seemed helpless in this world, kept safe in the arms of a young man, his adorable face, inches away from her.
No, I am not just a lady who is weak, and who can have a fall down from any adventure.
This is supposed to be her day, her own adventure and no one else's. Then she felt that building anger in her, from last night, and from those days she started to see the imprisonment of life that is giving her. Everything should just be a piece of cake to her, and she needed nobody. What she only needs is her adventures. And of what life can give. The moment she saw her anger reflected in those young man's eyes, her humiliation turned into a power, that strength of anger, and she scolded him. He is nothing but just a piece of cake to her. He is the personification of the grown-up words that she hates so much. And finally, those words came out from her.
You have no little fraction of a man.
And just like that, she felt her power, just like the book says, "You have no power over me." And she knew, somehow, she won. Or did she? As she turned her back at him, she felt the wind played with her long black hair. And she let the wind freely play with each strand of her hair, dancing in the wind, as if in that moment is her only companion. And that beautiful girl who puzzled everyone in her school, the one who everybody thinks is peculiar or snob. That girl with a book is Sarah Williams.
Oh no, it's spring.